Did you know that All Might once lived in America? Or that Midnight had this as her hero costume? Well, today we're diving deep into the backstories of every hero in My Hero Academia. So, let's start with the backstory of Shota Aizawa, aka Eraserhead. Shota was a talented student at UA High, where he was best friends with Hisashi Yamada and Oboro Shirakumo. Although he was talented, Shota doubted himself and didn't feel strong enough to be a real hero. But everything started to change when he did a work study at the Purple Revolution Agency with Oboro by his side, constantly supporting him. It was also Oboro who gave Shota his iconic protective goggles. Back at UA, Shota and Oboro talked about their future, with Oboro pushing Shota to believe in his role as a teammate. But things took a tragic turn during a patrol when the villain Garvey attacked. In the chaos, Oboro sacrificed himself to save some kids from falling debris, leaving Shota to take on Garvey alone. Shota managed to defeat the villain, but when he went back to check on Oboro, he found that his best friend had died in the rubble. This loss hit Shota hard and he shut himself off from everyone, even Hisashi, focusing all his energy on training and getting stronger. After graduating from UA, Shota became the independent hero Eraserhead, determined to fight villains his way and never let anyone down again. Next up, we have Eijiro Todoroki, aka Endeavor. When Enji was just a kid, he saw his father die while trying to save a little girl from a villain. That moment drove him to become a pro-hero, and by the time he joined UA High, he adopted the hero name Endeavor. By the time he was 20, Enji had reached the number 2 spot on the Hero Billboard chart Japan. But no matter how hard he pushed himself, he couldn't surpass All Might. And his weakness made him terrified, but he was also full of respect for the symbol of peace. But, determined to get stronger, Enji came up with a new plan. He wanted a child powerful enough to take down All Might. So he arranged a marriage with Rei Himura, believing her ice quirk would help create the strongest hero ever. Although their marriage was arranged, Enji ended up developing real feelings for Rei, and the first few years of their marriage went well. But we all know how the rest of this story plays out. Now let's talk about both Tsunagu Hakamada, aka Best Genist, and Shinya Kamihara, aka Edgeshot. But why are we talking about both of them? Well, we actually don't know much about their backstories. But we do know that they both went to UA and became best friends, and that they started the Textile Arts Association, with Genist as the president. And after graduating, they went their separate ways, with both of them aspiring to become great pro-heroes. We now have Rumi Usagiyama, aka the rabbit hero Mirko. Back in middle school, she was known as the bunny-eared Usako, crashing fight clubs and building a reputation as a tough schoolgirl. But she got caught and later expelled, so she moved on to a hero school. During a school trip, Rumi stumbled into an underground fighting ring and jumped into the action, taking on everyone in the arena like a total boss. She earned the nickname Tiger Bunny and wowed the crowd, but things went sideways when All for One released a gas that caused everyone's quirks to go out of control. Luckily, the pro-hero O'Clock saved her just before Kurogiri could grab her and steal her quirk. Teaming up with O'Clock and a fighter named the Rapper, Rumi helped them fight their way out, relayed an important message to the police, and even called for All Might to step in. But instead of staying safe, she ran back into the action to help fight the powerful enemy. But their fight got interrupted as All Might showed up and ruined All for One's plan. So in the end, Rumi left the scene and she was now determined to make her way as a pro-hero. Talking about this incident, we have to talk about Taishiro Toyomitsu, aka Fat Gum. After graduating from the hero course at Shiketsu High, Taishiro, still a rookie hero, was on hero patrol when he bumped into 3 students, Sameko, Kameko, and a young Rumi Usagiyama, who were lost while on a school trip in Osaka. They wanted to visit Tsutenkaku Tower, so Taishiro gave them directions before going back to his patrol. A few hours later, chaos broke out when a group of villains with uncontrollable quirks started rampaging through a parking lot and terrorizing the city. Taishiro jumped into action, trying to evacuate people and stop the villains, but there were just too many of them. Luckily, All Might showed up and quickly took down all the villains. Taishiro was amazed by how effortlessly All Might handled the situation. So, truly motivated by this, Taishiro decided to eat more, to bulk up and make his quirk even stronger. Moving on to Shinji Nishia, aka Kamui Woods, whose past we actually know almost nothing about. However, we know for a fact that he had a very dark childhood. It was even said that his backstory was so sad that it was made into a documentary, which became very popular. And my guess is that his sad childhood had to do with looking like a tree, but I guess we will never know. Although not officially pro-heroes yet, I feel like we have to include Mirio Togata and the Big Three in this video. So, let's get right into it. When Mirko was a kid, he almost drowned in a river but was saved by a pro hero. That moment inspired him to become a hero and help others, even though his dad thought his permeation quirk would make it really hard. But Mirko didn't give up. He spent years training hard to master his quirk and reach his dream. In 3rd grade, he met Tamaki Amajiki, who had just transferred to Mirko's school. On his first day, he had a hard time introducing himself and couldn't find the courage to make any friends. But that all changed when Mirko noticed that Tamaki liked heroes, and that sparked the start of their friendship. From this point, their friendship grew, and throughout middle school, they supported each other. Even though Mirko struggled to control his permeation quirk and Tamaki couldn't get his manifest quirk to work properly, Mirko stayed positive and encouraged Tamaki, telling him he would shine like the sun. After middle school, Mirko and Tamaki both went to UA, and here they met Neijire Hado. So before we continue with how they met Neijire, let's get her backstory up to this point as well. In middle school, Neijire was super curious and loved asking her classmates about their quirks. But instead of getting the answers she was hoping for, her classmates thought she was looking down on them because of her own powerful quirk, so they started avoiding her. Because of this, Neijire's smile and happiness faded, and instead she became distant and kept her emotions to herself, which she continued to do when she also joined UA. So, continuing with the story, Mirko and Tamaki met Neijire when she had joined UA. One day, when Tamaki saw Neijire sitting in class, he thought she seemed distant and unapproachable, but he still awkwardly approached her and asked what hero she liked. That small conversation led to her regaining her confidence, and eventually becoming the cheerful person she was, and they all became close friends. By their 3rd year at UA, Mirko had mastered his quirk and trained under the pro hero Sir Nighteye, becoming known as one of the top heroes in training. Tamaki had also mastered his quirk and had eventually chosen the hero name Sun Eater, inspired by Mirko's encouragement that he would outshine the sun. Mirko and Tamaki, together with Neijire, then became known as the Big Three at UA. Now, let's talk about Keigo Takami, aka Hawks, who had a rough and traumatic childhood. His mom, Tomi, helped hide his father after he committed a murder, and they lived in a filthy, isolated home. Keigo was forced to stay inside all the time to avoid revealing his dad's crime. The only outside influence he had was through TV, where he watched heroes, but he thought they were just fictional, not real people. One day, Keigo felt something strange in his feathers and went out to the city, but when nothing happened, he returned home. His dad, already angry and suspicious, blamed Keigo for leaving the house and punished him. However, one day, everything changed as his father was arrested by Endeavor, Keigo's favorite hero, although he never even believed heroes were real. After his dad's arrest, Keigo and his mom had to flee, living on the streets because his mom couldn't support them. When Keigo was out to get food for him and his mom, he quickly saved people from a car accident, and the Hero Public Safety Commission noticed him. They offered to protect him and his mom if Keigo agreed to leave his past behind and become a hero. And Keigo accepted their offer, so the commission trained him hard, teaching him how to deceive and infiltrate. They also made him give up his real name. By 18, Keigo started his own hero agency and quickly climbed the ranks. By 20, he was already in the top 10 pro heroes. By the time he was 24, he was ranked 3rd, just behind All Might and Endeavor. But Keigo never cared about being the strongest. He just wanted to be like Endeavor, his hero. Next up is Namuri Kayama, better known as Midnight. She was also a student at UA, though not in the same class as Shota, Hizashi, and Oboro. However, they all became close friends during their 3rd year when they started eating lunch together on the rooftop. One day, Midnight showed them her hero costume, and they were shocked. She knew it would be judged, but she explained that it was practical for her quirk and movements, and she wasn't ashamed of it. She thought she'd change people's views within a year, but instead, her outfit led to the government creating the Hero Costume Skin Exposure Limitation Act. So that plan didn't really work out. Later on, she helped Shota and Oboro join her agency, and together they formed Team Purple Revolution. But everything changed when the villain Garve caused chaos in the city, and Oboro tragically lost his life. Namuri was crushed by the loss of her friend, but despite being heartbroken, she kept going. She graduated from UA, became a pro hero, and eventually started her own hero office, working alongside her sidekicks, the Midnight Boys. Mirai Sasaki, aka Sir Nighteye, was a huge fan of All Might and really wanted to be his sidekick. Even though All Might had a rule of not taking anyone on, Mirai's persistence eventually paid off, and All Might agreed to let him be his sidekick. Mirai handled all the behind-the-scenes work, like managing paperwork, while All Might was out fighting villains. And he, of course, eventually found out the secret about One for All. After his brutal fight with All for One, All Might was seriously injured, with damage to his respiratory system that limited how often he could use his quirk. While he was in the hospital, Sir Night-Eye used his foresight on him and saw a grim outcome. He urged All Might to retire to avoid killing himself, but All Might refused, saying that without him, the world would live in fear. Night-Eye pushed back, revealing that his foresight showed All Might would die a gruesome death in 6 to 7 years if he kept going. After their argument, they went their separate ways. Night-Eye started his own hero office but still supported All Might, even though they parted on bad terms. Now we have the #1 hero from America, Kathleen Bate, aka Star and Stripe. When Kathleen was a kid, she was traveling with her family when they got caught in a villain attack. Scared for their lives, she just prayed that her little sister would survive. Luckily, they were all saved by a Japanese exchange student who turned out to be All Might. That moment inspired Kathleen to become a hero, with All Might as her role model. As she grew up, she went through military training and eventually became a pro-hero, climbing the ranks thanks to her powerful quirk, New Order. During her training, she struggled with feeling like she couldn't reach All Might's level, but her fellow soldiers and future teammates comforted her, reminding her of her own strengths. So Kathleen went on to become Star and Stripe, the #1 hero in America. But throughout her career, the US government kept the details of her quirk a secret. Before we get to All Might, we have to talk about his mentor, Nana Shimura. Nana was a pro-hero during some seriously chaotic times and ended up inheriting the quirk One for All after the last user, En Taiutai, was killed by All for One. She fought every day to make Japan a safer place, but All for One and his crew were always causing trouble. Things got even harder for Nana when her husband was killed by a villain. To protect her son, Kotaro, from All for One, she made the tough call to send him away and completely cut ties with him. But this decision backfired. Kotaro grew up resenting her and eventually became emotionally abusive, especially to his own son, Tenko. And, as we know, Tenko later became Tomura Shigaraki, all because of All for One's manipulation. One day she met Toshinori Yagi and she saw something special in him, his courage and determination to make the world a better place. So that's why she took him under her wing as her apprentice and eventually passed on One for All to him. Together with Gran Torino, she then trained Toshinori, helping him grow into the hero she believed he could become. But then came the fateful battle against All for One. Nana fought with everything she had, but the fight took a devastating toll, and she was seriously injured. Realizing they couldn't win, she made the ultimate sacrifice. Nana pushed Toshinori to safety, telling him to become the symbol of peace the world needed. And in her final moments, she smiled, confident that All Might would be the one to bring down All for One, before she was tragically killed. Finally, we have Toshinori Yagi, or as we all know, All Might. Toshinori was born quirkless in a world full of chaos and crime caused by the villain All for One. One day, he tragically lost his family to villains, so he decided to become a hero who could give people hope in this terrible time. As a teenager, he'd often rush into danger, trying to help even though he had no powers. And one day, he tried to take on a gang of villains with nothing but a lead pipe. But the pro-hero Nana Shimura arrived and quickly took down all the villains. Impressed by her strength, he asked her to be his mentor, but she rejected him, saying he had no quirk. However, Toshinori didn't give up. He told Nana that he wanted to create a world where people could live without fear, and that the world needed a symbol of peace to inspire everyone. So, moved by his determination, Nana decided to take him on as an apprentice, and eventually she passed her powerful quirk One for All to him. Later, Toshinori went on to attend UA High, where he trained under Gran Torino, a friend of Nana's. In his final year at UA, Toshinori, together with Nana and Gran Torino, fought against the villain All for One, but they were defeated. During the battle, Nana sacrificed herself to allow Toshinori to escape, urging him to take her place and fulfill her dream of saving the world. Gran Torino then continued to train Toshinori after Nana's death, but Toshinori struggled with grief and revenge, and Gran Torino advised him to escape All for One's reach by leaving Japan and to keep training in the United States. So, after graduating from UA, Toshinori moved to America, where he met David Shield and began his journey as a hero. Upon returning to Japan, All Might's career skyrocketed, and he became the world's #1 hero, bringing in a peaceful era where Japan's crime rate dropped significantly due to his influence. Eventually, All Might faced off against All for One again, but this time he defeated him single-handedly, dealing critical damage. So All for One's reign over Japan finally came to an end. However, the intense battle left All Might with serious injuries. Even so, the symbol of peace didn't let that stop him. He kept fighting villains and protecting Japan to keep the peace. I know we have more heroes like Mount Lady, but the heroes' pasts that I haven't mentioned are still completely unknown. Who is your favorite hero? Comment down below. Thanks for watching and watch this video next.